The 60s was an era of change with the war and protest and blah, 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 and the black protesting and the stuff like that, you know. The 60s changed a lot of things.
All of us that were in Vietnam were young. Most all of us that were in Vietnam were young, 18, 19 years old.
A lot of guys enlisted because their college process, I mean, they had zero money for college and stuff like that, so.
The white boys that were there were the poor ones, the ones that couldn't afford to go to college.
We didn't have experience, we didn't have any money, and we were afraid.
I had trepidations about it because I didn't want to go, and so I found myself saying, well, I'll go if I can save lives, not take lives.
There were only two females in our troops, depending on what kind of planes would go in there and pick up the wounded.
And we didn't know what discrimination really was. Hell, I learned more about discrimination when I went in the Marine Corps.
No doubt about it, it was 50% minorities. Puerto Rico, San Antonio, Superior, Arizona, Los Angeles, all them places. I mean, we were just saturated.
As the war started and they built more and more bases, every hospital that I went to, I worked in the operating room.
It was a draft war, and so many of them were drafted right after high school. Kids who had never been away from home.
You know, you go to high school, you have a prom, you do all these things. I didn't have that. I went from picking cotton, just about immediately get married at 16, and I'm off to the Army.
Your plane departs in an hour over here. I was young. I said, Mom, what are you doing to me? She says, son, this is not your war.
To ignore the anti-war sentiment would have been the same as ignoring the Chicano movement.
You're always looking for each other. You're always trying to encourage each other. You're trying to say, okay, we don't quit, man. Somos valientes, we're brave.
And so we had to be very efficient in the way that we worked because we had numbers and numbers. I mean, they never stopped coming. It was the bloodiest part of the war.
But I don't remember how I did it. There's a blank spot there that I think and I can't remember. I had him in my arms here. You know, he couldn't move, he was paralyzed. He was paralyzed. And he was still alive. Still alive. He said, he told me, Tony, I don't want to die. Tony, I don't want to die.